Top of the morning, everyone. My name is Tshidi. I'm back with another video, and as you can see today, I decided to dress up a bit. An awesome, amazing cousin of mine reached out to me and said, "You know what? You've got very serious topics that you're talking about, but the t-shirt look is not necessarily addressing the true sense of what you're also trying to say. So try and make it look like you really mean this, because I do. I think it's very important topics that I'm trying to share with you guys. Now, if you haven't yet subscribed, like I said, this channel is mostly for a bit of travel and mostly videos like this that speak about careers and speak about salaries, speak about how to negotiate your salary, speak about so many different things when it comes to the work environment. But today I decided to come and tackle this very, very interesting one, and it speaks about what is a salary breakdown, what is included in a salary. Now, I'll see you on the other side. So a lot of people are struggling with understanding what companies are offering. And in most cases, you'll find that a company comes and says, listen, I'm going to give you about 20,000 cost to company. And in your head, because you don't have those mock pay slips and you don't understand what's been taken out of that 20,000 that's already been offered to you, you get excited and you're like, oh, this is amazing. And then come month one, the first pay that you ever get, the money that you're expecting, which was roughly about 20,000, comes back as 12,000. And you're like, but you guys offered me 20,000. What happened to the rest of the money? I mean, I wasn't expecting to go through something like this where I'm now losing a lot more money than I actually expected. So I've also agreed with an amazing friend of mine. She works for Clark House. Her name is Deborah Booth. So her and I are going to tackle this a bit more differently, where I'm going to interview her specifically about what her understanding is. Clark House is one of the most renowned businesses in South Africa that has helped a lot of HR professionals. They've held different conferences that are helping so many different companies out there. So I figured, maybe I should just take it to another person that can literally just break it down and speak to about multinational companies, what these guys are paying, how they're structuring everything. But what I'm going to do right now is to try and take you through just a quick breakdown of what a CTC is, or what a cost to company is, and net salary is. Because I think those are the two most important things that a lot of people want to know, because you receive an offer, and in the offer they would normally send you the cost company, unless they actually speak about it separately to say this is not a cost company. You'll find that in most cases, most companies will send you a cost company, and how you structure that and what are some of the things that you should always worry about in a cost company. So Deborah Booth will join us for next week's topic. We'll just go back into this topic again just to get a bit more into details, where we're going to get into a bit more about the shares, LTIPs, and some of those things. So what is cost to company? Cost to company is the amount of money that a company spends on an individual. Some of those could include benefits. It could include some of the things like tax. It's a whole lot of other different things. And when we speak about cost to company, some of the things that we speak about are monetary and some of them are not monetary. And that's where it gets a lot of people, confused, because when it comes to monetary value of the cost company, we're now speaking about your fixed income, and I'll get a bit more into detail about some of these things. We're speaking about some of the things that the company is paying, and we're also speaking about things like your net salary. Now, let's just get the net salary out of the way. Net salary is basically what you take home. It's the money that you actually take home. So in most cases, if somebody gives you a cost to company of, let's say, 150,000 rands per month, and that's how much they're paying you should always ask them to say, okay, if that is the cost to company, what is my net pay? And you'll find that mostly your net pay is going to include things like it's things where they've now removed things like tax, they've removed provident funds, they've removed a few other things. So net pay is what you should get excited about. So net pay is what you now say at the end of the month, when I look at my bank account, this is the money that I've got. This is what I'm taking home, and I can go celebrate with my family. Because cost to company are so many different things. So now that we've got net pay out of the way, let's go into some of the things that are included in the cost company. So I keep on looking down because obviously I've got a few notes that I don't want to forget when we speak about this. Now, when it comes to monetary benefits, we're now talking about cash received or cash spent on an individual. Non-monetary could be things like your leave, your healthcare, your medical aid, your pension funds or provident fund. Those are non-monetary benefits that you get from a cost company point of view. And then when we speak about cost company, this is some of the breakdown of what's in the cost company. Cost company, for example, has got your fixed salary, which is basically the money that we're talking about. And it's mostly part of your take home, the net salary that you're actually talking about. And then depending on what you're earning and depending on the country that you are in, your tax is very different based on what your salary bracket is. So for example, some of the guys that are earning, let's say maybe about $1 million or 800,000 and above, in South Africa, that tax I think is about 45%. Some of the guys that are earning, let's say maybe 15,000 rands, your tax is a lot less. So in South Africa, they've structured in such a way that the more you earn, the more tax you pay, the less you earn, the less tax you pay. So basically when we talk about cost to company, normally you'll find that you first still have to deduct the tax out of that money. So it's not necessarily the money that you're taking home. And then you then also have number 2, which is the retirement contribution. Now, most companies will have a retirement contribution that they will actually include in the cost to company, where they'll say to you, we contribute 50% of your retirement contribution and you contribute 50% of your retirement contribution. In true reality, you still, as an individual, because that's included in your cost company, you're actually honestly paying the 100%. The company is saying that because from a tax point of view, it benefits you to have it structured in such a way that, the company pays a certain percentage and you pay a certain percentage. So the reality is when we talk about cost company, all that money is actually coming out of your salary, unless in some other companies, there's a few companies that honestly really do contribute above and beyond what you're already contributing from a pension fund or provident fund. And those are very few companies that currently exist. The next thing that they normally also include in your CTC is actually your medical benefits. So you'll find that 99% of the companies in South Africa, you are forced to actually have a medical aid for you to work for that company. So if, for example, you have a spouse or you've got a partner that works for another company and they've already got a medical aid that you guys are both sharing, in this instance, you guys can actually maybe prove that you actually have got a medical aid and they don't have to deduct that directly from your pay as you earn the money. But in most cases, it will be deducted directly from your salary before you even get the money. So that's what a lot of companies will do. Whereas for contracting houses, however, they would pay you whatever they need to pay. So if most contracting houses, they'll say, our benefits to you is we'll pay you 25,000. And out of the 25,000, the only money they take out of that would normally be the tax. And then you then pay for your own provident fund. So you have to come up with a retirement annuity that you pay directly from your own pocket as you get the money. And you have to also pay for your own medical aid from your own pocket. So they pay you the money and you go decide what to do with it. Whereas in most corporate companies, when you're a permanent employee, they pay for that money up front so that you don't end up spending the money before you actually use it for what it's supposed to be. And then the other last thing that some companies will include in a cost to company will be what they call a variable pay or a bonus. Most companies don't include bonuses in your variable pay, in your cost to company, and mainly because bonuses are not always guaranteed. Whereas some companies will say, for example, we'll pay you 2 bonuses a year, we'll pay you in March and we'll pay you again in August. So that's normally included in your cost company, and that's what a lot of people then tend to do. Some companies don't do that. Majority of the companies that I've worked for and the majority of the companies that I know have never included variable pay or bonuses as part of your cost to company, mainly because it's never guaranteed and it's based on the company performance as well as your individual performance. So that's why it's normally never included. So in some companies, however, they'll say your variable pay is included in your cost to company. That basically means that whatever they pay, a portion of that money is being put away so that it can be paid to you at the end of a period of time. Some companies will include that, for example, as a 13th check, where in December they'll then pay a certain amount to whatever individual that they've got, so that that person can actually use that money for whatever they need to do. And then over and above cost to companies, you'll find that some companies will also then include other allowances. For example, they'll include things like cell phone allowance. In some cases, they'll include it as a specific variable benefit that you then get over and above your current cost to company. Or in some cases, they actually already included in your package. So you're still paying for your own cell phone that the company gives you. But in some cases, you'll find that the company will pay up over and above that, and it becomes a benefit. You've got a housing allowance. Some companies talk about housing allowances, which is also another separate thing. But those are some of the variable benefits that you then get from a cost to company thing. Now, there are other things that a lot of people don't tend to speak about, or they tend to not address a lot, which is things like leave. Now, leave is a very, very critical thing. I think based on the Department of Labor in South Africa, your leave days is a minimum of, I think, 15 days per year. Now, what companies tend to do is they tend to have that different structures. Like there's company, for example, that have got unlimited leave, which basically means that you can take 100 days if you wanted to in a year. But that's never really possible, mainly because leave talks about the time that you're able to leave the office and go focus on your own personal things without having to worry about work. But with the amount of work that we all have, unlimited leave normally doesn't benefit the individual, but it benefits the company. And then there are companies that then say, for example, you've got 21 days, 25 days, however. Now, my advice to a lot of people is, if you're coming from a company that had, let's say, 28 days leave, or 28, 25 or above, and you're moving to another company that's got far less leave days than what you've got, try and negotiate for a shortfall of that leave into your package. For example, if you have 28 days that you were getting from a company A, and you're moving to company B, and company B has got 21 days, you need to say to them, because I'm losing out on a benefit, because there was a benefit that you actually have of about 7 days, and that benefit has got a monetary value to it. There's an exact expense that goes towards every single day of leave that you actually get. That's why a lot of companies always say, please take your leave, because if you don't, by the time you resign, they have to pay you out of that, or the remaining leave days that you had, they normally have to pay you out. So if you then move into company B, try and say to them, guys, listen, at company A, I had 28 days. I'm losing out on 7 days that I used to normally spend with my family. I'd like to make sure that whatever you guys do, please compensate me for these extra 7 days. That becomes a benefit to you. So those are some of the things that you shouldn't forget whenever you speak about this. And lastly, guys, the last thing that I wanted to tackle is quickly the shares. Share allocation is a very interesting one. Very few companies in Africa are allocating shares to their employees. And when it comes to shares, the tricky thing about shares is that it's a structure in such a way that some companies will allocate what they call LTIPs, and those shares are basically saying, if I'm giving you 200,000 worth of shares, by the time they vest, you get 200,000 rands. Some companies say, if I'm giving you 200,000, whatever benefit or increase in share value that we then get, that difference, you then get paid out on that difference. So when it comes to shares, if you're moving from company A that had allocated you shares, always try and negotiate to company B to say, either one, please try and give me the shares equivalent of what I had from company A, and with the same vesting period. In most cases, companies won't do that. Or B, to say to them, cool, company A, my shares were vesting in 2021 and it was worth 200,000. Now, because I do not want to lose out on that benefit, can you then do a payout of that value of the shares? And some companies will then give you a sign-on bonus, which will then tie you to those particular shares. So a sign-on bonus might either be one-to-one to your previous company shares, or in some cases it might be a portion of that. So they might say, okay, cool, you were gonna vest about 200,000 rands worth of shares. We're going to give you only about 150,000 rands so that you can actually benefit the money right now. In most cases, just take that, because I think because shares are not always guaranteed, you now know you've got cash that's coming in directly to you. Now, please always remember also, once again, your shares, even though you've got 200,000 rands worth of shares, when they vest, the day they vest, there's a tax that's deducted out of those shares. So it's not like one of those things where you have 200,000 and then you receive 200,000 rands worth of shares. No. We still have other things that we then take out, and the tax man will come and take some of that money. I hope this video was very informative. Like I said, I have a session planned out with Deborah Booth. We will be taking you guys through quite a lot of the other benefits, a bit more in depth. And then I'll share that video with you guys. So please don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to share with some of your friends, because this will benefit somebody else out there. And if you've already subscribed, thank you so much for being back. And thank you for watching the video all the way up to here. I really do appreciate every support that you guys have done. And thank you for growing this family. Top of the morning with Tshidi, and see you onto the next video. Thank you. Goodbye.